Hello everybody, welcome back to It's Current Year for another quick battle replay. Today I'm up against Lizardman Saurus Warriors, a member of the Han clan. I've played this person a few times. I'm not sure who it is. I don't know if it's Han Samurai playing under a different name. Any case, he's playing the Tomb Kings. I'm playing the Norskins. Probably the one remaining good matchup, I think, for Norska. I think this is actually a matchup that they're quite favoured in. So we'll go through my opponent's force to begin with. A big long line of skeleton spears, so very cheap chaff front line. Over here in the in the woods, bit of a flank deployment. We have a couple of units of Nehakara horsemen. We also have, I believe, a couple of other units hidden over here. Oh no, those are my units, never mind. We'll get to them soon. Some real hitting power here for the Tomb Kings with 2 units of Necropolis Knights halberds. So interesting pick here. They have obviously their anti-large bonus, poisoned attacks, okay stats and reasonable charge bonus. So good damage dealers if you bring large stuff like mammoths. Probably trade reasonably well into skin wolves as well, because they do have obviously good armor values. We have 2 units of necrotechs coming in on chariots with the restore ability, so some good a good amount of healing for the Necropolis Knights here. I kind of like this pick as well, because the chariots are good for running through marauders and berserkers and that kind of thing in the frontline fight. Leading the force up on the big war sphinx, we have Cetra the Imperishable. He is rocking the Blessed Blade of Petra as well as the Wrath of Petra, and a number of spells. Incantation of Desiccation, a nice AoE debuff spell. We've got the Incantation of Protection, and then Jaff's Curse Blade. So pretty standard kit. Incantation of Desiccation is not a bad spell. Doesn't get brought all that often. For my forces, over here we have the Beasts of Tashnar, anti-large warhounds with their missile resistance. They've got nice thick fur or whatever. Some Marauder horsemen over here in the trees. Likewise on the other flank, a couple of units of horsemen just whipping around the flanks here. In the front line, we've just gone really cheap, really basic. 5 units of basic marauders. They'll trade well into skeletons. Won't do very well into Tomb Guard and that kind of thing. But the threat of Burning Head, as you know, from Law of Fire, does kind of make Tomb Guard here maybe a bit of a risky pick. So we've got also 2 units of Familiar Warriors, one of which is the Mist Stalkers, obviously with their stalk abilities nice in case there's something like Ushapti Greatbow. And over here we have a little hero squad hiding out in the trees. Throg's leading the army. He's come in with Foe Seeker, Fight or Die, as well as Wintertooth Crown. Fight or Die is actually nice for the Norskins for the melee attack, just to keep them just to keep their stats up throughout the fight. Skinwolf Werkin coming in here with the Ruinous Flesh and nothing else. Nice and cheap. Good bit of hitting power. I don't actually have a Firecaster. Surprise, surprise. We have a Metal Mage, Plague of Rust, as well as Final Transmutation and the Scroll of Shielding for some damage resistance. Plague of Rust obviously goes hand in hand quite nicely with the Marauder Javelins, who can burst down stuff like constructs very, very quickly when you debuff the armor. So the Necropolis Knights getting stuck right in here. I think this is going to be an Incantation of Desiccation going down over here. So some nice debuffing of my combat stats. The Familiar here, really poor stats. I think they've got 9 melee attack or something at the moment. Now I figured that the Beast of Tashnar would do okay into a Nehakara horseman, because 50 armor is not insurmountable for them. I was wrong. I think they got double teamed. So these Marauder horsemen are going to have to pull back soon. But over here, the fighting's coming in thick and fast. My hero squad's rotating over. Marauders are going to do fine into all these spears, and they're fighting unsupported. So I'm kind of happy about this. There's 4 units of spears caught up over here, not supporting the main fight. And my opponent is getting very, very blobbed up. The Familiar Mist Stalkers are fighting away in here somewhere, or have they actually been routed off? No, they're still in here somewhere. But obviously a big pit fight going down here, and you guessed it, Final Transmutation Overcast here is going to get a ton of value. 2 units of Necropolis Knights. I think both the Necrotechs are in here. Cetra is in here. This is fantastic for me. I've also got my Marauder Javs flinging their javelins in at the Necropolis Knights and whatnot over here. Throg's coming in. He's beelining Cetra at this stage. I want to try and impart, or maybe not Cetra, maybe I've got a different click down there, but 1 unit of Necropolis Knights with halberds is going down, and we see out here, Marauder's doing really well. Getting their enrage mechanic charged up. We've also got the Marauder horsemen out here, so anything that wants to pull back through the infantry at least has some pressure on it. But my opponent has lapped around, and unfortunately the Marauder Jabs Haven't used a ton of well, these guys have, but these guys were late to the party and are getting charged, unfortunately, by just regular skeleton horsemen. I think I might have missed them in a deep vanguard. But over here, Throg now is fighting up against Cetra with the Plague of Rust going down on him. Pretty nice matchup for Throg generally, and the Necropolis Knights surrounding him are kind of getting bashed down. Necrotech's taking a lot of damage as well. They don't really want to be fighting anywhere near stuff like Familiar Warriors. They're good at running through infantry, but really that's about it. They don't want to really be used as a duelist character. And unfortunately, my jabs have been shut down here by the Skeleton Horsemen. Don't know if they'll come back. Another unit of Nehekara Horsemen here coming down. I've been forced to throw some of my Marauder Horsemen into combat as well, just to try and ward them off. Shaman Sorcerer of Metal over here is, just trying to get involved in the fight. He's pretty light on for Winds of Magic at the moment, but Throg is just going strong in here, but he's completely surrounded and really suffering without much support here. But he's healing through a lot of this. Aside from these Necropolis Knights, there's nothing here that really worries him. Obviously, the Skeleton Spears with their anti-large will sort of plink away at him, but he's doing all right. His leadership's holding okay. He's got the Scroll of Shielding down on him at the moment, but I'm going to pull him back, to some form of relative safety. Not that I have much infantry left. Unfortunately, out here, my Marauders have, I don't know what's happened to them, but Skeleton Spears mainly sort of crumbling now. The Skinwolf Werekin is trying to rotate around. He does not want to get stuck on spears because he doesn't have a ton of armor. Oh, I beg your pardon. 93 armor is actually okay with Ruinous Flesh buffing that up a little bit, but the Ushabti summon goes down. I'm just going to pull my Marauder Horsemen out. I mean, there's some, I believe there were maybe, no Marauders in there. So I would have thought that might have been used to actually pin Throg in. But the last of these Necropolis Knights are going to go down, which is nice because even with Restore going down on them, they're probably going to crumble through it. We do see their hit points sort of stabilizing, and their leadership has stabilized, so they will stop degenning here. But yeah, Throg and the Werekin have a sea of skeletons here to deal with, unfortunately, and the Shaman Sorcerer is nicely in range of the Wintertooth Crown, so it's going to keep everything fighting here. The Werekin, unfortunately, did get a little bit separated, so he's actually not unbreakable at the moment, thanks to the Wintertooth Crown. And Cetra at the moment can just basically, this is a really nice play by my opponent, see some rallying infantry coming back in. They're very beaten up, so they will terror out and shatter almost instantly. And the Werekin now just surrounded by cheap infantry, which is not what he excels at dealing with. There are the Necrotechs in here at least, and he could kill them very, very efficiently. Throg's done away with the last of the Necropolis Knights, but the Horsemen now, with Fight or Die, are actually doing okay into the Nehekara Horsemen. They're holding them in the fight reasonably. That stat boost's holding them in the fight reasonably well. Just pivoting out this side with my Marauder Horsemen over here to try and just use the last of my ammunition. But I see an opportunity here to maybe try and pin in these Nehekara Horsemen so Throg can go after Cetra. Cetra is getting very low, and with the Plague of Rust going down on him, we could possibly even pull back and use our jabs. I think that's what I am doing now. Incantation of Desiccation means that these guys are basically useless in the frontline fight because both of their melee attack and melee defense is 0 at the moment, so might as well use their ammo. But as I say that, I'm just charging them headlong back in. I think I realise now Cetra is popping the Blessed Blade, which is going to help him beat down this Werekin very, very efficiently. Likewise, Throg probably doesn't want to take this fight while his stats are being debuffed and the Blessed Blade is active. But I still have some ammo at the very least on my Marauder Horsemen, so I can kite around with them, maybe use the last of that to try and kill these Nehekara Horsemen, and then try and sort of just see what I can do. I mean, I don't think this Shaman Sorcerer has any real Winds of Magic left, so doubt he'll come back. Werekin should come back. I'm actually... Oh, he's been chased by the Necrotech, so that's a nice play by my opponent, but because he would definitely be rallying by now. But at this stage, Big Throggy has to put the game on his back, and obviously with the mobility afforded to Cetra by the War Kitty, it's going to be tough for him to do because there's a lot of infantry here. I am getting just surrounded. 85 spears, 87 spears, and 46 spears. Throg's not going to take a ton of damage. I mean, he'll probably heal through a lot of it, but it's just the constant plinking away. His healing cap's not in sight yet, but I will turn and countercharge the Skeleton Horsemen here. They're very fragile and can be beaten down by a countercharge from Marauder Horsemen. Fight or Die activated while we're in this fight here. Just try and just burst this down and allow, I guess at the very least, my Marauder Horsemen to do some cycle charging. on the skeleton infantry, so we can kind of let Throg just carry as best he can. Now the Werekin does come back in the distance, and this is big for me because as a regen in single entity, he's actually quite impactful on the balance of power, and we are actually ahead, surprisingly enough, on the balance of power. And this Necrotech all of a sudden is going to realize that he doesn't want to actually take this fight. Now I have forgotten all about this, so yeah, he's back on the battlefield, but he's not being really activated at the moment. Throg, every chance he gets, even surrounded by the spears, he's just going to keep trying to get on top of Cetra the Imperishable. The Wintertooth crown has popped, and thankfully did hit these Marauder Horsemen. So we'll keep them in the fight as well, even though their leadership is very low. But obviously, in order to obey the attacking rules, I kind of have to leave them at this stage. Throg is still, reasonably healthy, and Cetra now, even if he does get a charge in onto Throg, incantation of protection going down will offer him some protection from the big slam hits of Throg's hammer. But yeah, no magic attacks, but the frostbite effect may force Cetra to kind of think about staying in the fight rather than turning his back and running away. But again, just using his infantry well here, Han, Saurus Warriors, and I think finally the Werekin starts his big trek back to the mainline fight. But like I said, I'm ahead on the balance of power, and both my single entities that are remaining at this point are regenning. There are some sneaky little skeleton horsemen back on the field, and unfortunately these Marauder Horsemen look like they have checked out for the day, but that is going to be the victory. I believe Cetra did actually crumble and die, which basically spells the end for his infantry. The Necrotect over here, I'm not sure if he could have come back to the fight, but like we said earlier, he's not good at dealing with the Werekin. He was still alive, but he has no chance in hell of beating a Werekin or Throg. So yeah, a pretty fun game, pretty back and forth game there. I felt like when my infantry sort of evaporated that I was probably just going to get cycle charged down by the chariots and the mobile elements that the Tomb King player had left, but we managed to scrap it out just through big old Throg Daddy. Look at that, nearly 3k value. He's not all that expensive with just Wintertooth Crown, and even though the Famir kind of let him down, a couple of those crown casts in the late game just to keep the horsemen able to keep cycle charging and keep things surrounding him in the fight were probably pretty clutch. So he's definitely got a good target in Cetra the Imperishable, and obviously the Necrotechs don't want any part of that fight. Likewise the Werekin hasn't done all that well, but he's still kind of healthy, could have potentially got back into the fight. But the Shaman Sorcerer of Metal, that final transmutation was massive. It pretty much got everything that it wanted to get. Cetra, both the Necrotechs and both the units of Necropolis Knights were in that radius for basically the entire duration of that spell, so no surprise he's got a lot of damage. Marauders, like I said, maybe I need to go back and watch this replay again. I'm not exactly sure what they actually died to, because they should beat Skeleton Spearmen pretty efficiently. Maybe they got some rear charges from the light cav that came back around. But both the jabs, even though they had a fair bit of ammo left on them, actually got some really good value because they were firing into the Necropolis Knights, which is basically the exact target that they want to shoot, apart from Cetra, if you can maybe pin him down. Miststalkers and Famir not doing all that well, but I've been trying to make Throd work with trolls, and it's just a nightmare. Ice trolls, and just trolls in general. Their leadership is just awful, even with the Wintertooth Crown. And the Beast of Tashnar took a fight there that I thought they could win, but yeah, turns out that wasn't the case. Marauder Horsemen, fantastic unit, all getting pretty much their cost back and then some. So yeah, nice. Like I said, probably the last remaining matchup where I think Norska is genuinely favoured in the current meta. They've got a couple of other okay matchups, but yeah, this is a good one for them. Cetra doing okay. Necrotech's Necrotech's actually doing really well, considering we did see some restores going down. Halberds kind of struggled. One unit got, I think, a good charge into the Miststalkers, so that's probably the most of that value. But we did have some good answers to both of them. The fast cav was really nicely used here by my opponent. I mean, Skeleton Horsemen cost 400, and they both well and truly made their cost back. Neokara Horsemen are kind of just sort of grindy linebackers and good disruption tools, and then the spears have actually all done really well. Holy, that's probably the most I've ever seen on a skeleton spear unit. So yeah, kind of lucky we've basically pulled this out on the back of 2 regenerating single entities, but a fun game nonetheless. So thanks for checking it out. We'll be back with more soon, and yeah, game 3's on the way, so Get excited. See you next time.